Okay, so this video today, or this map that we're going to be reviewing, is not actually in Europe. It's in Canada, in Calgary, where I am from. So it's actually it's a mock race that we did here as a training, like probably a walk simulation or the closest we could get to it. And we've got Damien, me, and Jan Eric Nice running it. It's kind of funny because I actually did the whole map, so I've mapped it, so I have sort of an advantage there. And then Damien, he planned this course, so he has a slight advantage in that too. So Jan's the only one without an advantage, but that's okay. So I'm just gonna basically run through the whole course. I'm gonna let us run through the whole thing once, and then I'm going to switch. We're going to look at it again and look at basically mass starts between individual legs to try to determine to the best of our abilities, because we don't have splits, which route would have been the fastest. So let's jump into it. So to number one, there's basically no route choice here. You just go around. You could have gone around this way, but because you were already heading towards the star triangle, it made no sense to try changing direction there. And then, so here I'm just going to pause it for a second. So here we can see that even though we've been following the exact same track, I'm already 20 seconds behind the other two. And so that's because they just run faster, basically. So they're going to be making a big gap. And I made a couple little mistakes, so that's only going to add to the gap. So we're going to mostly focus on Damien and Jan as they run and how they run it. So here they went both ways around. I don't think it would have made much of a big difference. I think right here, the blue way, was a little bit faster. To number three, I came around this side, but I don't think it makes a big difference. It wouldn't have made more than a 1 or 2 second difference. So then here we come into 4 and then to 5. Again, we took different routes. I don't think on this one it would have made a big difference, but we'll see. And then here's the long leg, and this one is the most, I think, probably the most critical leg on this whole course. Usually the long leg is, but here there was, honestly, I think it had a deciding factor between Damien's and Jan's times. So as we can see, I also went left. I thought left would be a little bit shorter, and so did Damien. But Jan came in from the right-hand side. And we'll come back and talk about it more later. But long story short, Jan's way from the south was a bit faster. I think we found out it was about 10 seconds faster. But we'll look at that more in depth than later on than Damien's route. And then as we continue up here Jan took the diagonal, which is probably the way to go. I also went that way. Damien's routes also wasn't bad, but I think the diagonal would have saved on distance. We can see to number 8, I took a worse route, definitely. Going from the right side was a little bit faster. It wasn't too much worse. It was about 2 seconds slower, and I don't know how much running speed was involved in that. Then there's no route choice to 9. To number 10, we'll look at it a bit more, but it was fairly equal from both sides, so it didn't matter too much which way you went in. Number 11, you definitely wanted to hit this alley and come into it from here, otherwise you would have lost some time. And then to number 12, it didn't really matter which way you went around here and the artificial fence. To number 13, I actually made one of my mistakes. So here there's a big fence that I didn't map because it's brand new, and so I couldn't come around the left side of this building, which would have probably been a little bit slower, but it wouldn't have been such a big deal. But I lost a lot more time because I had to come back. I'm just going to bring that back a little bit. So to number 14, Damien and Jan take different routes. I think right was a bit faster. We can see at this point in the race, I guess it hasn't been started from the beginning, but that's okay. So, but you can see how Jan is pulling away from Damien. So we'll analyze that more later on in a minute when we are going to do mass starts between legs. But basically from 15 there's not much route choice. You'd have to double back or just go this way. Damien, I think he took a very good entrance route on this one. So coming up here and here, you'd hit the control fairly directly, but going south didn't make too much of a big difference, I think. Then we all come in from the right here. I lost a little bit of time here as I hesitated. I was thinking I'd go down this one for a second, and I curved a little bit before I continued on the correct way. So we really have to zoom in here. This area is really technical. The paths are very thin and they're narrow, like in Europe. I'm gonna bring it back again. Sorry. So here, yeah, basically we come in to this one, and then it's actually interesting. We all went different ways to 20. I came up this trail. Damien came out around this way, and Jan came that way. Yeah, and then to 21, you just continued around the outside, and then Damien and Jan and we took different routes to 22. So Jan went left, and me and Damien went right. What else? So yeah, and then the rest of the course was pretty straightforward. So I'm probably gonna switch back pretty soon, and yeah, now we're going to just analyze the individual legs to see which ones were faster and where, and maybe I'll talk about some of the mistakes I made while running it. So, So 1, 2, and 3 weren't really route choice legs, so we can look at number 2 actually. So I'll start it right from here. So even though we do take different legs, we all make it there at basically the same time. And I'm going about the same speed, if not slower, when the other guys are really speeding up. So here I'm already a little bit behind, and I did have a little hesitation right here. I didn't cut in right there, so I lost a couple seconds, but it's mostly running speed, I think, at that point. So from 4 to 5, though, where I take the left route, and these guys take the right route, we get there at exactly the same time. So there's honestly no difference in the length of that one. Now, this is an important leg, so I'm going to start it just, let's start it back from 4, just because we were all there at the same time. So going to number 5, well, right at the long leg, I thought one was going to be significantly faster than the other. So I stopped here for about 10 seconds, and you can see that how far Damien and Jan got ahead before I decided which way to go. And that was probably one of the biggest mistakes you could make on the long leg. And it comes to show that when it's hard to tell like this, it doesn't, you don't have time to stop and think about it. I did pick, I think, the wrong route. That's partially because over here, there's this whole stretch here is slightly uphill, and I don't have the contours because I didn't have the contour data when I mapped it. But that played in significantly. And then over here, there's a bit of rough ground, yeah, vegetation, and so this wasn't the fastest for running either. But definitely, here we're just gonna go back to rewatch that. Definitely going down and around Jan's way, all the way here and then through here, and then right by this, trying to stick as close to the line as possible, is the better option because he basically avoided all of the climb, whilst me and Damien had to go over the top of the hill here. So now we're just going to watch, because it's fairly balanced out. We had a little bit more back here, although we were closer to the line. at this point, except it's almost the same distance away. So it's honestly not too much faster. Um, but here we can see Damien and Jan starting off at basically the same time, and Jan getting there about 5 or 10 seconds before Damien. So comes to show that left was definitely the better option. It's mostly, I would say, because it avoided all of this climb going over this hill over here. So the map didn't. So in a good race, we'd have, or on a good map, this was okay, but on a perfect map, we'd have all of the contours here, and we'd be able to take that into account as we run. I'm going to switch over just to the second part of the course, and we're going to look at a couple more legs. So now we're going to look going to number 8. So here I took the left option, and Jan and Damien took the right option, and I thought this was blocked off, so that's why I took it. And here we can see I lost maybe about 3 to 4 seconds, maybe 5 max, because here this is just a lot. If you go right, the option is a lot smoother. You just run straight following the trail and then turn in. Whilst here I had to take 1, 2, 3, almost 4 sharp turns. So after number 8, we had number 9 to 10, and I think I can say this is the only leg I actually did correctly, or better than Damien and Jan. Because if we look here, it's a close call, but basically I'd say if we started right from here, I'd say I make it to them just before it. So my way, so here we can see I have a little bit of a lead. So either it's about the same, or the way I went was a bit faster. Otherwise, let's see. Let's test 13 to 14, because this is an interesting building. So from here, yeah, my GPS doesn't really go all the way, but it looks about exactly the same. So I'd say Damien didn't lose any time there. 15 to 16, I'm just going to restart it here. So we can see the differences that our route choices made right at the end of the leg. So here we're all basically the same. There's a little hill here, and Damien and Jan pulled a little bit ahead, but Damien turns here and then comes straight in. Jan's GPS is a bit funky, but he must have been on the outside of the alley, and they make it there at the same time. So I don't think there was any difference in their route choices, basically. 16 to 17, we all went right, because left seemed a little bit longer. And then to 18, we all went from the right. I kind of stopped here for a second. That put me back a bit. 19 is very straightforward. You just go through here, and then you need to take a good bearing across here to hit the corner here and this alley. I'm actually going to restart it from 19 to 20. So here it's actually quite interesting. We all took different routes, and we're there basically at the same time. So I'm not going to say one route was better than another. I lost a little bit of time there, because I decided to turn a second later, but here I'm just going to play that one more time. If we really zoom in, we can see how close we are. So basically any of those routes would have been good for that one. 21 to 22. So I'm actually interested if Jan's way, which is going left, is a little bit better than our way, because I feel like we had to double back a little bit on our way, but I don't know if it translates all going into the side. So here we can see that Jan actually pulled ahead by what, like 3 to 4 seconds. So honestly, yeah, I think we lost a little bit of time there just because we had to double back. But basically, it was a good leg. There was, those were the two best route choices. And there's not too much on the rest of these controls. It was just right, we all went right, and then left, we all went left. So here, actually, Damien went around the left side of the building, but I don't think it mattered too much. It was about the same. Yep, that sums it up. So it's a very interesting course. Yawn had an extremely clean run, and I had a couple hitches in there. So basically, one of the first big mistake I made was stopping on the long leg. So again, I guess you don't have time to stop for 10 seconds on a sprint right there. And otherwise, you have to take into account the climb that you're going for. But that's a little bit of a technical issue because we didn't have the all the contours on there, so I couldn't tell exactly. But still, going out further to the side, something that feels like it's more off the line is probably better than taking extra climb, and going more straight. So you have to keep that into account. That's a really good one. And otherwise, in this section here, I think Jan gained most of his time just because he had really good flow between each buildings and hitting each of the very tiny alleys, because those could really slow you down. Now, I was only going to look at one more thing, just to analyze my run. So here, this is Garmin Connect, and I could see certain statistics from my Garmin watch. So we can see that it was basically, the course was fairly flat, and here this section was the long leg, and this was the hill that I ran over. So Jan would have had this flat, and I guess we can tell is about, let's say, 165 or whatever, or 166 to about 180. So it was about like 20 or so, 15 extra meters. But I guess that can add up in a sprint. And again, Damien was only about 10 seconds, almost less than 10 seconds slower, so it wouldn't have made a big difference. My pace, I'd say, was pretty good at this. I don't know, I haven't analyzed too many pace charts over time, but it looks pretty typical. I know I was moving for most of it. The only places I stopped were here and over here, whereas where this is where that extra fence was, so I had to stop and turn around, and I lost about 10 extra seconds there. But here I stopped for a solid 10 seconds to think that route out, and then I took the wrong choice. And I think on paper, no, we did measure it out, and the right route was definitely a little bit shorter because you could take some more diagonals across the, let's go back to it. You could take some diagonals across these parking lots here, which didn't look so, I don't know, friendly. It looked like there were a lot of obstacles, but it was a lot straighter. So, but basically, if we look here, my speed would spike up to about somewhere like 320 or 330s when I was going really fast, and then slow down to about 430s or even 5s or even 7 here. We can see also that the drops became more jagged here and deeper, and so that reflects, I'd say, the fatigue I was feeling right at the end of the course. And actually, I'm just going to play it from, where was from about 21. So if I play it from 21 with a mass start, then we can actually, oh wait, that did not get all of us at the same time. I'll play from 22. But basically, at this point in the race, even though Damien and Jan are much faster runners, we can see that we're all basically running at the same pace. So I was really able to, I'd say, keep a very constant pace. So I might have been running a little bit faster at the beginning, but here I was definitely, I was able to hold that pace the whole time and keep it very steady. So I think that's a positive and something you have to work on also a little bit, because it's important to maintain a steady pace, because that's how you maximize your efficiency during a run and have the cleanest run possible. So even though I was going a little bit faster at the beginning, I'd say, it was quite steady, and it was all around 4 minutes or 4-minute Ks. So I think my average time was exactly 4:20. The last graph we're going to look at is the heart rate graph. So right at the beginning, my heart rate was about 125. That was after warm up, and I don't know. Basically, that's I think, yeah, decent heart rate right after warm up. And then we can see as the race starts with the running, the speed ups or accelerations and decelerations, my heart rate builds up to about 150, and then after about, 5 minutes and 30 seconds into the course, so I don't know exactly where that was, it evens out at about 160, and then it stays there for the rest of the run. So that's also good because I think it shows that I was able to get up to basically in my threshold, or my anaerobic threshold. So I didn't die out before the race was over, but I was able to keep a fast pace, and I was working at the same intensity or effort for most of the run. Yep. Basically, there wasn't too much climb. I had 70 meters. I think Jan would have had a bit less because he didn't have to take that hill. And there's not too much more to look at here. Average pace was 4:21, and it was going fast, like 2:52 at some points, maybe on the downhills. But yeah, okay. I'm going to have to edit this now. See you in the next one.